If you haven't seen the previous video in this series, follow the link on your screen or click the link in the description or pinned comment below.
"47 seconds to get through double Disney logos."
With the way you've worded this particular logo, Sin, I've just realized something. You think this is a long time. Now, I know that might seem obvious to anyone that's watched my videos for any length of time, but think about it. Jeremy is lamenting that he has to get through 47 seconds. I'm guessing Mrs. Sins owns stock in Hitachi magic wands.
The evening star.
Jesus, Disney, you're not even going to warn me before you start songing in this movie? Even Beauty and the Beast had a few establishing shots before Belle started the Little Town bull.
What's your point? That it's a sin for a musical to start off with music? You remind me of the uncouth heathens that watched La La Land for the first time and gave it a bad review because they were unaware it was a musical. Judge a movie on what it is, not what you thought it would be.
Mickey, how's the peeping? Mickey, how's the peeping? Mickey, 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 Mickey.
Jeremy makes a...
Tommy, how's the peeping? Tommy, how's the peeping? Tommy, 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 Tommy.
pop culture reference that isn't a sin of the movie cliche.
Moved by his desperate plea, that she stooped down, picked up the slippery creature.
This is much too erotic of a tale to be telling children.
Jeremy thinks boner.
There is no way in this whole wide world I would ever, I mean never, kiss a frog.
Character says she's definitively not going to do something that she'll do at least twice by the end of the movie. Cliché.
Narrator says the plot of the film and erroneously puts cliché at the end. Cliché.
Pretty?
Look at you.
I know John Goodman's a big dude, but drawing his character this big, relative to the rest of the cast, is rivaling Kingpin from Spider-Verse as the most absurdly large animated man.
But if you recognize that there are actual humans this big, why is it absurd that animation reflects this? Also, Into the Spider-Verse is very heavily stylized, and that stylization exaggerates Fisk's body purposefully. And even then, it's not that much of an exaggeration, considering this is what he looks like in the books.
That's a huge bitch.
Come on, kiss him. Stop it.
Females flippant feline flinging far from funny, in fact, feels flagrantly foul.
Interesting. Idiot incessantly invades innocent instance in insistence of inconsequential incidents.
No bone missed the pushover. Now, who wrote the puppy?
Wait, was that puppy seriously in his pocket this whole f***ing time? Was it being suffocated? It hadn't made a sound since Big Daddy walked into the room.
Why do you guys always request animated films? It's like you know Jeremy is going to take them at face value, so you want to torture me by forcing me to respond to this nonsense. Evil, I tell you. Evil!
This is the best gumbo I've ever tasted.
We now return you to Ratatouille, already in progress.
Jeremy makes a pop culture reference.
You know the thing about good food? It brings folks together from all walks of life.
Okay, I really don't like this movie, but I have to give it credit for portraying a strong African-American woman as the protagonist, even if she eventually does fall in love with the playboy at the end.
Alright, I got two sins for you here. The first is something that's going to piss off Black Twitter, but as a black man with experience in this arena, it has to be said. The black woman falling for the playboy thing is 100% realistic. I'm sorry, ladies, but it's facts. The second thing is you said you really don't like this movie, but your description suggests you do. So either you or your description is lying, and if my Christianity is correct, Poseidon gave Noah some tablets on Mount Everest that suggested lying is a sin.
Well, you wish on that star, sweetheart.
Jeez Louise movie. I know Disney was trying to make a return to traditional animation, but this is a bridge too far. If an actual singing cricket comes into the frame, so help me.
Everything wrong with The Princess and the Frog, teaching little girls to be hopeful.
Just promise your daddy one thing, that you'll never, ever lose sight of what's really important.
This dude is so dead. Seriously, I don't think I've seen a character's death telegraphed more clearly, at least since Missandei in Game of Thrones.
Which happens, people die in movies, no need to be a pussy about it.
Also, what is Disney's deal with dead parents, man? Is it on the checklist for every f***ing movie?
I know, right? Like Toy Story, The Aristocats, Hercules, Mulan, The Incredibles, Moana, Peter Pan.
At this point, the movie's playing the opening song that's more Randy Newman than any Randy Newman song Randy Newman's ever Randy Newman.
That's probably because this was composed by him and Randy Newman's influence was Ray Charles. What I'm saying is, black music is the style Randy was trying to emulate. What's next? You're going to tell me Elvis invented rock and roll too?
Let me get this straight. This guy voodooed a ginger pompadour onto his head, then waited until he was wooing a lady to werewolf his ass? Apparently, the magic in New Orleans has a built-in sense of comedic timing.
It's almost like the main antagonist of this film is a villain or something.
This evil voodoo villain is so transparently one-dimensional, I'm half expecting his character to be literally named Jafar.
Then what was the point of the previous sin? If it's obvious he's the bad guy, why wouldn't he do bad guy things?
You got about as much chance of getting that restaurant as I do of winning the Kentucky Derby.
Well, if you challenge the result on a bullshit technicality, you may have a better shot than you think.
Jeremy makes a pop culture reference that almost no one who is watching this video will know what the hell he's talking about, nor is a sin of this movie cliché.
I'm gonna need about 500 of your man-catching beignets.
Either Charlotte goes or I go. I honestly don't know how much more of this character's energy I can stomach. Were those beignets powdered with cocaine?
Is that a proposition that we can really take you up on? Because if it's between a whiny, nasally, annoying-ass character that almost everyone hates and Charlotte, I don't think this is the moral conundrum you think it is.
This should cover it just fine, Lottie. This is it. I'm getting my restaurant.
Tiana grew up with the LaBeoufs, and I'm sure this isn't the only catered event they've thrown. So why didn't she offer her services for what would have been a huge payday until now?
Probably because it's not a great idea to take advantage of your friends no matter how much money they have. In the 12 minutes of movie time so far, it's been established that Charlotte gets what she wants. So if she didn't want a party catered by Tiana, she wouldn't have gotten one.
I can't really play a lot of it for you, but the music in this musical often forgets how to music. It's bland, basic, and sure to be forgotten the second the last note fades. What's the opposite of an earworm? Whatever that is, it's this.
You're referring to Almost There, the song that was nominated for an Oscar at the Academy Awards? Where was the smoke for Hercules? Oh, I get it. That's racist.
Man, this story about a princess and a frog in the magical world of interspecies romance has a lot more food porn than I anticipated.
Everything wrong with The Princess and the Frog. A restaurateur makes food.
Casual. Arson is casual. And arson.
Jeremy doesn't know what flambe means.
You do have a soul, don't you, Lawrence?
Lawrence later turns out to be one of the bad guys, but I'm starting to think it's only because he's unfairly derided by everyone from the very beginning of the movie.
Okay, so what's the sin here? Are you excusing villainy because he got bullied? Trying to get someone innocent killed is never justified because you were bullied. That's Little Dick's school shooter energy.
And when I looked into your future, it's the green that I see.
Man, it feels like this song's been going on for 10 straight minutes, so of course it's sung by the cast member with the worst voice.
Did this man just say Keith David has the worst voice? Keith David? Worst voice?
What did you say, nigga?
I hope you're satisfied.
Actually, no, I'd like a refund on those hallucinogens that I obviously ingested about an hour ago if this is their end result.
Hey, another one of those sins that have nothing to do with the movie and is just Jeremy wanting to tell jokes. I'm going to give you the same advice your trolls give me. I'm pretty sure these movies are just for entertainment. Why not just make your own video telling jokes? Why do you have to steal other people's work to profit? 99% of your videos is you riding the coattails of more talented people. Be more creative. You would be a nobody without movie studios.
Travis, when a woman says later, she really means not ever.
Well, then apparently I'll enjoy this movie later.
Well then, I guess Mr. Sins is a lot more open-minded than I originally thought.
Also, the dance isn't that complicated, but Lawrence as Naveen just morphed into this body, and he can execute a perfect waltz at the drop of a fucking hat?
Jeremy answers herself ex machina.
Well, back into the fray.
Nothing says a family film like a little décolletage humor.
Which is ironic coming from the dude that censors certain swear words in YouTube videos, but at the same time makes cringe sexual jokes. I still haven't forgiven you for the one in the Aquaman video.
So what now? I reckon you want a kiss?
What? Even though it's only been a few movie minutes since we heard the Frog Prince story, it's been like 20 years for Tiana. And she's thinking about the restaurant, not love. But this is her response to seeing a goddamn frog?
Why is this such a shock again? She's remembering something from her childhood, something she was vehemently against. The last time she wished on a star, a frog appeared. This is her trigger. What's the problem?
I know this story. Di Fragi Brutto.
Well, ain't this convenient. Not only does the frog happen to be a prince, but Tiana is also using the perfect book to try and kill him.
You mean the book that's been in Charlotte's room this whole time? That book that's been set up in the film already? That book?
Besides being unbelievably handsome, okay, I also happen to come from a fabulously wealthy family. Surely I could offer you some type of reward, a wish I could grant?
Man, I know this is a silly fairy tale, but this part of the movie comes off extremely icky on many levels.
You mind explaining any of them? I mean, half the sins already are half-assed, maybe if you squint kind of hard and turn your head sideways kinds of sins, but this one is particularly egregious. I mean, it's icky to ask someone for help and offer them a reward? What the fuck are you talking about?
Fun fact about voodoo, Larry. Can't conjure a thing for myself.
Fun fact about plot-convenient rules, Voodoo Dr. Guy, they can be very distracting and obvious.
Fun fact about CinemaSins, they complain when movies don't tell them the rules, but they also complain when movies do tell them the rules.
Looks like we're going to be here for a while, so we may as well get comfortable.
Man, Naveen is such a goddamn horny toad that even a transformation into a whole new species can't kill his amphiboner.
Jeremy says frog boner.
Alligators cannot form the proper embouchure for playing a trumpet. The only exception was Lockjaw Johnson, who learned to cover the sides of his snout.
Mama Odie, she the voodoo queen of the bayou.
We're gonna have to go meet her, aren't we? Why do I get the feeling that this movie is just trying to lily pad its runtime with a side quest?
So, if I've got this right, the protagonist attempting to cure the ailment that is the literal premise of the film is a side quest now? Come on, admit you wanted to tell everyone the new video game lingo you learned recently, Anita Sarkeesian.
If I
Skippity-doo-dah, skippity-yay.
Jeremy sings in a video cliche.
Miss Charlotte, I can no longer ignore the throbbing of my...
We got boner jokes, y'all. Or ass jokes? I don't know. There's supposed to be some humor here, but God help me if I can actually find it.
There you have it, folks. Jeremy just admitted that boner jokes aren't actually funny. You're probably thinking, well then, why does he use them while claiming to be comedic? Here's my response. Jeremy says boner.
always wanted to try red beans and rice, move for lettuce, poor boys.
God damn it, movies, stop making me want to go to New Orleans and eat Cajun food.
Sending something you like? Sending something you like.
Well, look at here! Oh, come on, Ray. There was barely enough time to jerk off, and I was almost there.
Coming from the dude that censors certain swear words in YouTube videos, but at the same time makes cringe sexual...
Ready when you are, Cousin Ray.
All right. We must never forget, Ray is playing this music with an infant as his accordion for this entire song.
Fuck them kids.
So, we got ourselves a deal.
The thing about Facilier's relationship to the underworld is that we never understand how or why it works. What are the limits of their powers?
Fun fact about CinemaSins. They complain when movies do tell them the rules, but they also complain when movies don't tell them the rules.
I will make him pay for his insolence!
I don't want to see these assholes eat Tiana and Naveen, but I'm also loath to acknowledge the existence of this all Southerners, especially Bayou folk, are dumb for hunting for edible sustenance cliché.
Are you denying that hillbillies like this exist? Dude, aren't you from Tennessee?
Some bananas Foster.
Bananas Foster was invented in the early 1950s, so unless this is also a time-traveling alligator, he should have no awareness of that dessert in 1926.
He also shouldn't be able to play the trumpet considering alligators don't have lips. Get it yet? Not our reality.
Deus ex mama odica.
The character we already know exists is being called a deus ex machina, which I will remind the audience is a sudden and abrupt resolution to an unsolvable problem in a story. In other words, this ain't that.
Not bad for a 197-year-old blind lady.
Yeah, and especially one that had no clue that a bunch of animals that were actually human were being chased by a bunch of evil shadows. I know voodoo is magic, but it has limits.
Oh yeah? What are they exactly? Because just a little while ago you were asking what the rules were, yet all of a sudden you're an expert on voodoo.
I can no longer marry Miss Charlotte LeBouf.
I swear every time he says her name, I think of Shia LaBeouf, which makes me
Who cares?
think of...
Skip.
There it is.
Your restaurant?
Oh, can't you just picture it? All lit up like the 4th of July.
Yeah, but when Tiana was last human, she was epically despondent about being outbid for the property. And yeah, Naveen promised to help her, but since then, she's discovered he doesn't have any money. And the only way he would is if he married Lottie, which is probable, but also presumptuous. So even if they get turned back to humans, Tiana's probably back to square one. And now I wish I could get a Disney movie that ended on such a dour note. That seemed to happen all the time back in the 80s.
Once again, CinemaSins attempts to gish gallop their way into a sin that doesn't make sense. As you stated, Naveen has promised to help her, and we already know Charlotte wants to marry Naveen. Even if Charlotte would turn down helping Tiana, and she wouldn't, we already know the outcome of this movie, because it's a New Millennium Disney movie, and they do not end on bad notes.
So Firefly Light can dispose of the shadow demons now? Is that canon? Just trying to make sure I understand all the rules for the Princess and the Frog live-action expanded universe and theme park land, sure to come eventually.
Again, what the heck is up with the flip-flopping on the rules, Jer? First you say things can't happen, and then you wonder aloud if they can happen. I have a solution. How about watching the movie? Surely that's the best way to know if something is possible or not, instead of questioning what the movie is outright stating is possible.
Think of everything you've sacrificed.
I told y'all she wouldn't come.
Can we define the powers of these voodoo people in this movie?
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Almost there.
Now this asshole is naming song titles from when he wasn't in the scene. This movie is more nebulous about powers than a fucking MCU offering.
The MCU is a terrible example because those characters do not exist only in the films. The majority of them have decades of source material, so those abilities are not coming out of thin air, meaning they don't have to explain shit, because the explanation is in the books. Movies don't have to use dialogue to explain something. They only have to show you, and if you really want explanation for your silly little questions that have nothing to do with the film's plot, then crack open a comic. I swear, they don't bite.
My dream wouldn't be complete without you in it.
This movie purports to subvert the typical girl pines for a prince and sacrifices her own agency in the process, but it totally falls back into that trap to engineer a love story in the end, because Disney just can't help itself.
Where, Jeremy? Where did the movie purport that? Because it damn sure wasn't in the advertisements. The only thing this movie purports is that they were finally giving us a black princess, and they accomplished that goal. Jesus, not every movie has to be, I don't need no man. This ain't Ghostbusters.
Wait, what? Tiana presumably had the same amount of money she had pre-Frogger, but now that she has a sentient alligator as a friend, she can get the restaurant? She was outbid, man!
So is that what we're calling redlining now? Being outbid? I suppose you also think housing authorities are meant to keep the property values high.